everybody. Welcome to this installment of Catching Up with Carl. I'm Carl Bauer, and I recently had the opportunity to sit down by means of a Zoom interview and talk with two outstanding sports personalities from our area to find out from them where their lives took them after the thrill of the local high school sports spotlight. My first guest today is Spencer Myers. Spencer is a graduate of Selinsgrove High School. While there, he made many headlines for the Seals. Not only was he on the state champion football team, he was a state champion wrestler as well. Spencer's story is a great one, and you'll be interested in what he has to say. My second guest was a fabulous softball player for the Warrior Undefenders. She was a terrific pitcher, and as a hitter, no opposing pitcher could fool her when she stood at home plate with a bat in her hands. When she wasn't in the circle for the Defenders, she was an all-star shortstop. Her name is Taylor Parker. So these are the two athletes you'll hear from today, Spencer Myers and Taylor Parker. I'll be back with some closing remarks after the interviews. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SCCV8. This is Catching Up with Carl. I'm Carl Bauer, and I'm talking with Spencer Myers, a name that I'm sure you know. If you stayed up with athletics in the area, you have heard that name before. Spencer, thank you for joining us here on Catching Up with Carl.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let me ask you some questions then, Spencer. You graduated from Selinsgrove in 2010. That is 10. It'll be 11 years ago when this year's class graduates. Where did the time go?
I don't know. Everybody told me before I went to college, they said, enjoy it while it lasts. It's not going to last long. And, I kind of shrugged it off saying, it's going to be there forever. And tell you what, it's like, boom, flew right by. And here I am, like you said, basically 11 years later and way out of high school, way out of college now. So it's crazy. Time has flown by real fast.
Well, you had some outstanding results when you were in high school. You were a state champion wrestler, state champion in football. It must have been very, very exciting to be Spencer Myers in those days.
It was very exciting. With that, it had its perks. My parents always taught me down to earth and, I was always up in the clouds and, they helped keep me grounded. But it was very exciting. I mean, like you said, football state championship, wrestling state championship, and actually made it to the state finals of track and field for discus. So, I mean, I was going for the third state title, but it didn't come along. But just from football and wrestling, went I believe it was 60-0. So I mean, I was in the clouds and even above that.
Well, you had so much going on with all those sports, and you were a star in all three of them. 149 and 18 in wrestling. That's an entire career of greatness. It must have been very nice to be Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, again, it had its perks. I was hoping to get that 150th win. Would have been nice, but hey, 149 and 18, I can't complain at that. Everybody always looks and they're like, oh man, those 18 losses. Whoever wrestles and stuff, and whoever plays sports, and it's like, man, wish I didn't have those losses. But hey, I can't complain about my career. I had a great career, and hey, I had the greatest coach coaching me there in high school, so I can't complain about that.
You certainly did. What was it like having your father for your coach?
It was a great experience. I mean, I shouldn't say experience. It was just a great thing as far as not only just from a wrestling standpoint as a wrestler, but, it's kind of a family thing. My dad wrestled when he was in high school, so I always tease him about, hey, I'm going to make it farther than you did. So, it was one of those great family things, in the end. And it was just great all around having my dad there, being able to wrestle with him. I remember, wrestling him in the mat room was my senior year, and he was obviously the head coach, so he'd have the live goes and everything. And we were doing a live go, and I hit him in a headlock. Now, I never hit a headlock, but I hit him in a headlock, and I had him down again on the mat, and we were close to the wall. And I'll bet you we were 30 seconds into a 2-minute period. He reaches out, touches the wall, and calls time. So I'm like, all right. So we get back up on our feet, and he says, all right, we're going to go to the third period, your choice. So I think I chose neutral again, and I hit him in another headlock. Within about another 30 seconds. Well, he called time, said the match was over. He couldn't take it that, finally had caught up to him a little bit.
That's a great story. 44-0 as a senior. That too is something that most people don't have a chance to experience.
Yeah, again, it was just amazing, being able to experience that, especially from the year before where I got hurt in the finals. Basically, it was a high ankle sprain. Obviously pretty bad. I had to be carried off the mat. And the two, being carried off was not only that, but pride. But, it was great being able to come back and have a great, successful senior career, or senior season, I should say, and just a nice career overall as a whole.
Well, that took your dad carrying you off the mat at the end of your junior year, that state championship match. That is a picture that is just incredible. The Daily Item had it, and it was just a great picture.
It was. I mean, when I first looked at it, it was like, oh my gosh, here I am getting carried off in that. But looking back on it, I mean, that's just one of those things where I look at it as it's kind of an iconic picture. I mean,
yes, it is.
It's like one of those things of the rise and fall of, not really of an empire, but just of a match. It's like the rise and fall of it. I was up 2-0, not break, but high ankle sprain, and just kind of detailed what happened throughout the course, and then of course the ending of it.
All right, you've always been a big guy. I'm assuming you were a heavyweight as a freshman too, weren't you?
No, actually, so as a freshman in high school, I started off at 171 pounds. Then as a sophomore, I went to 189. And then my junior and senior year, I wrestled 215. I didn't get to heavyweight until I was in college and found the what do you call it? The all you can eat at the at the diners.
Yeah, that's hard on all of us. So you decided to go to college for wrestling. You're a big guy. What made you decide on wrestling instead of being a football scholarship player?
To be honest, it was one of those things where it was a bittersweet. I really wanted to play football. I loved football and everything. But I didn't really jump on the scene, so to speak, till I was a senior. I mean, when I became a senior, I ended up being defensive player of the year for PA, first team All-State. And then once those accolades came, then it was like one of those things, schools started coming around a little bit. So it was kind of a no-brainer, especially, with wrestling. Now I narrowed it down to a few schools that nobody would have really guessed. There was a couple schools in the mix that people just, when I told them, because I don't tell many people who were in my mix, but they're like, what? Why do you have that school in there? But at the end of the day, I think I picked the best school I possibly could have gone to in the University of Maryland, especially with head coach Kerry McCoy. I mean, you don't get a much better head coach as, even a heavyweight coach with that. I mean, I got a 2-for-1. I got a great head coach and a great heavyweight coach. And, he was like a father to me when I was in college. So it was a trifecta there. But, with football, I knew I really wanted to play football as well. So that was kind of one of those things where when I went to the University of Maryland, it was I went in with the notion of, and, worked it out with the wrestling coaches that I would wrestle. And, if I could start, I would start for, the 4 years. Now, if I didn't start, I'd obviously redshirt, and, I'm always true to my word, so I'd stick to my word. But, I wrestled for the 4 years. I would wrestle for the 4 years and then play fifth year football, because you're granted an extra year for a sport, other than what you're in. So I knew at one point I would play football again.
Well, you did very, very well. It just happened that the day that Maryland played against Penn State, I went to the Penn State game, play in there playing football after you had that great wrestling career in college. And I wonder, you had it in your mind also, I'm sure, to go to professional football.
I did, yes.
What was that story about?
So it's kind of a long story a little bit. So, I'll start off with the wrestling part. So I went to University of Maryland. I ended up going on a 70% scholarship. I gave back part of my scholarship to help bring in other guys. That's where the other 30% went to. But, you know, freshman, sophomore year, won ACC titles, was a true freshman All-American, first one at University of Maryland. It was one of those things, it was a bittersweet type thing because I think in hindsight, looking back at it, I think it was one of those things where once I achieved that status, the All-American status, it was like, okay, well, I accomplished this. Now I'm ready to move on to the next one. So, you know, people talk about having, you should never, you know, look back at it and think, oh man, I could have, should have, would have. Well, I look back at it a little bit and I think, oh man, I could have, should have, would have. You know, I should have focused more on the wrestling aspect, but you know, that helped leapfrog me into where I ended up being. So, pretty cool story. I was walking through Maryland's football team house at Gossett at the time, is what it was called. I'm not sure if it's still called Gossett or not, but I was walking through and I was getting some treatment on an injury I had. And as I was walking up the stairs, the head football coach was walking by, Coach Randy Edsel, and Gossett is actually the football team house. So, you know, all the players, like the locker rooms and stuff are there, all the coaches' rooms. And as I'm walking up, I said, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" Because I was pretty friendly with the football players. You know, I actually played some all-star games with them and with a few of them. And, you know, I got to know them and hung out with them through college. But, you know, Coach said, "Hey, how you doing? I heard you wanted to play football." And I just kind of gave him a puzzled look. And I said, "Oh, who'd you hear that from?" And he said, "Oh, I have ears." He said, "I hear stuff." He said, I said, "Look," I said, "to be honest, I can't give up." Because at that time, after my freshman year, I ended up getting a full ride to wrestle. And I said, I can't give up my full scholarship. And he said, "Well, I'm the one that gives out the full scholarships." He said, "Come see me." So I went and saw him, and he said how he wanted to, you know, how they were going to offer me a full ride to play. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. But, you know, in the back of my mind, it was like, you know, I gave my word to wrestling and I didn't want to back out on it. But the other part was, you know, I went into college and went in with telling the coaches, you know, I really wanted to play football at the end of, you know, at the end of my wrestling career. So it was like, it was a bittersweet thing, but, you know, I went and talked to Coach Edsel and, you know, we set something up. I brought my dad down and he sat in on it with me and everything worked out and I got a full ride to play football. So played for the university, you know, played football, University of Maryland 2014-15 season, played every game. You know, we ended up going to a bowl game against Stanford. Now we got beat pretty bad in the bowl game, but you know, it was an awesome experience, and you know, that helped propel me to, you know, being able to play professionally. I did pro day. Now pro day ended up being, I think it was like a week or two after nationals my senior year, so it was like I didn't have any time to train, but you know, I ended up getting brought in by the Redskins, and unfortunately, you know, they said that I was a little too light because when I went into pro day, I went in as a defensive tackle. Well, the Redskins brought me in as an offensive guard. So, you know, with the handwork and footwork, they figured, you know, I'd transition well, especially with how wrestlers have transitioned over time, you know, most notably Stephen Neal with the Patriots back in, I think it was 2000. So they thought, hey, this is someone we can mold into something. Well, it was one of those things where I think I weighed in at 271 pounds or 272, something like that. And it was Coach Shanahan at the time. And he said to me, look, he said, if you weighed 290 pounds, I'd have no problem going to the head coach and saying, hey, let's sign him to the practice squad and we'll see what can happen. But he said with that, he said, I can't really take a shot on you right now. He said, go gain some weight and come back. So, you know, I went through a couple stints here and there. And then finally I landed out in California where I played with the Los Angeles Kiss. So it was one of those big things where I could say Gene Simmons was my boss. You know, he's the one that signed my check and everything. But I landed out there with the Kiss and I ended up gaining the weight. I went from 270 to 300 pounds. And so after the season, talking to my agent, and he said, yep, we're getting some calls. I said, great. We're setting some stuff up. And after the season was probably about a week and a half, I went and I volunteered to do some things, you know, help someone out with some training, and ended up tearing my Achilles. So that was kind of that put a halt to things right there. But then it was again a bittersweet moment. I was able to. It was one of those things where I was kind of able to reflect a little bit on, where I was and how far I had come, and being able to look towards the future and what I wanted to do. Now, again, it's one of those hindsight things. Could I have done more? I probably could have done more, but I was also young. So
you've had a great career. You're a terrific athlete. Selinsgrove, I know, is very, very proud of you. I want to thank you for being here on Catching Up with Carl. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. It was great talking with you as well.
I want to thank everybody for being with us. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SECV8's Catching Up with Carl. I'm Carl Bauer, and I have the pleasure of talking with Taylor Parker. Taylor, thank you for joining us here on Catching Up with Carl.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, I have some questions for you. You had quite a career at Warrior Run. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2013 from Warrior Run High School.
During that time, you, of course, had tremendous results in softball, 73 wins, 899 career strikeouts. Always wondered what happened to that 900th one.
I don't know.
899 career strikeouts. You were 3 times Daily Item Player of the Year, and you've been named to the All-Decade Softball Team for your high school career. That must have been so exciting to live through that.
Yes, it definitely was exciting. I cannot thank my parents enough for the amount of support they've given me. I wouldn't have made it that far if it wasn't for my father. He was tremendous support to me. He would push me through going out to practice, constantly staying at it. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done that.
What your parents did certainly give you a lot of experience, and they help you through. I know that. They're both Warrior Run grads, aren't they?
Yes. Yep. Now I don't know what year they are.
That's all right. That's all right. They might not want you to tell us anyway.
Yeah.
Besides being a great pitcher, you were a shortstop. You had 153 career hits. Your 3-year batting average. Now, people at home need to understand this. 3-year batting average, 534, 642, and 575. Any one of those people will be very proud of. You strung those together and did a great job hitting as well as pitching.
Yeah, hitting for me was, everybody asked me where I got all my power from, and I honestly don't know. It's the fundamentals, and as long as you put your swing together and have the right fundamentals, it all comes together, and I guess that's where I got all my power from. But hitting was a huge part for me too. I really enjoyed hitting against some good pitchers in the area. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You had Garth Watson for your head coach, and together that team had the only appearance Warrior Run has ever had in a PIAA final. That's something to really be proud of, Taylor, and I'm certainly proud of you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, we just my teammates and I, the girls that I was playing with in high school, we played together since we were in like minor league, all-stars and all that. We worked our way up together. So I think that was a huge part. We were a team that has played for many years together. So I think that was awesome, just to be with them all the way up through.
Warrior Run has really had the good fortune of having some outstanding pitchers in softball. I'm talking about a girl named Laura Harris. She's a 2001 graduate. Yourself, and I'm talking about Maddie Waltman, who had her career cut short by COVID in the spring of this year. Have you met either of those other two, Laura Harris and Maddie Waltman?
Laura Harris, yes, I have met her. I think just briefly one time she came to one of our like softball clinics. And Maddie Waltman, I've had a chance to actually work with her too. She was a great athlete, and that I um I feel so bad for the girls who had their season cut short. I couldn't imagine going through that, but yeah, she was a really awesome pitcher as well. And yep.
Well, you went from Warrior Run to Bloomsburg University, and you probably went there because Bloomsburg has such a great tradition in softball as well.
Yep. Well, I went to a bunch of their clinics ever since I was 10 years old. So I've worked with Susan Coker for many years, going to her pitching clinics and getting the chance to work with her. And I know as I got older, I wanted to go out of state to play softball, but the more I got older and I realized I wanted to be home, I wanted to be close to home, and that's why I chose Bloom, because not only is it a great school, but they have an amazing softball program, and Susan is a great coach too to play for. So
The fact that you stayed closer to home also allowed your parents to continue with their support of you, and that I think is something that you're going to be very happy you did that the older you get.
yep, exactly. Yep.
All right, at Bloomsburg University, you're Central Division PSAC Athlete of the Year in your senior year. Quite an accomplishment, but it's easy to see why. You were a great pitcher in college, and you continued with that great hitting in college. Uh, what do you think gave you the extra the extra factor, whatever it was, to continue as being a good softball pitcher in college and a good hitter in college?
Well, I think so. I did play for a travel team out of Philly, and I think being a part of that travel team and traveling to different states has definitely helped me gain experience of playing against these D1 softball players. But I just think being on a travel team and going out of the area and playing against a whole different level of competition helped me tremendously at the collegiate level. So I mean, I knew I was in the college level. It wasn't going to be like high school, and I had to work even harder and practice harder. But yeah.
Well, the results showed you just had a fabulous career in high school and in college. You just you continue to perform at a very high level, but that all comes to an end, and you're a college graduate now. Uh, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life?
So after I graduated from undergrad at Bloom, I think it was literally 2 weeks later, I moved into Westchester, and I went through the advanced program in grad school for my master's in social work. Um, and I graduated with that in 2018. And now I am back home, and I am the social worker at Muncie Valley Hospital. And I also cover up at Williamsport Hospital too. So yeah.
Well, you're very busy with that work. I know that. Does that give you any time for a family?
Um, so with me working, it's a Monday through Friday job, but with the pandemic right now with COVID, it definitely is very time consuming. So there are nights that I don't get home until 5:30, 6 o'clock. But my weekends I try to spend with my family and friends. But half the time I'm so tired that it's just time to relax. But yeah, it's a little difficult and stressful right now, but it's kind of like working as a team, where I work with the nurses and the doctors there and the therapists, and we have a great team, and it's kind of like softball. We get through everything together. So
Well, you put so much of your life and your efforts into softball. Are you maintaining any connection with that game?
So I played, I want to say about two summers ago. I did go and play a game, but I haven't really had time to really do anything. And it's a bummer because I really want to get back into it. I had a couple people ask me to come coach a team with them, and I haven't had time. But eventually, I really want to get back to the community and help girls and try and coach someday. But I
Your
haven't.
job is an important one. It's a very time consuming one, but the things will open up. You'll get more used to the job, and you'll be able to relax into it a little more. You'll have some time, hopefully, and you get back into some coaching. The people who play softball and those who watch it, I'm sure, are anxious to see you do that.
Yeah.
All right, Taylor, thank you very much for being with us here on Catching Up with Carl. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us here on SECV8. Great.